Good morning. How is everyone doing today? Welcome once again to day three of Reclaim Your Power. And we are doing this initiative to support the United Nations campaign to eliminate violence against women. And we have with here today my dearest friend and a very, very special guest, Preeti Chopra. She is one of my dearest friends. When we get to talking, it's always at least 3, 4, 5 hours. We have to force ourselves to stop because we have so much to talk and giggle over. And I love, love, love her. I love her very much. I adore her. She has the kindest heart and she's the sweetest soul on this planet. Um, those are her biggest gifts that she shares with us. Preeti is very humble, and what we need to know and acknowledge Preeti for is a whole bunch of things. Sorry, excuse me, a whole bunch of things. So I'm going to read out a little bio about Preeti, who she is, and what she really stands for. Preeti is a courageous, warm hearted, and spirited woman. Whoever knows Preeti knows that about her. She traveled through the dark, tumultuous seasons of life to discover the strength of her unshakable faith, the power of true forgiveness, and having the tenacity born of desperation to conquer the demons of her past. A serious car accident in 2013 brought on a spiritual revelation which caused Preeti to leave her mortgage career behind. She embarked upon an entirely different adventure, unleashing the power of her voice that for many years had been silenced by those who were responsible for her safety. In 2016, Preeti was discovered by an ex child soldier turned recording artist who encouraged her to speak her story of resilience, faith, and forgiveness to the world. She was invited onto the We Want Peace stage during a concert to speak about the way she was able to forgive her father for the atrocities he made her endure during her childhood. Today, Preeti is a mother to five wonderful children, a certified speaker, a published author, and she's working towards a certification to be a happiness coach. She is using her story to awaken people to the desires of their souls. They learn how to reignite their passions, to take consistent actions, and live into a future by their own design. And this was her bio in a book where she went on to be a part of the Guinness Book of World Records. I would also like to add that Preeti had obtained her business management diploma from Seneca College after she had left her abusive husband with three small children in tow. Preeti has also completed the landmark education curriculum. She was a powerhouse. I met I think I saw Preeti in Landmark, but Preeti, I think I met you in New York when I sat right next to you doing the Introduction Leaders program. And I was blown away by all the notes she had made. And, I was distracted from the main course and I was peeping into her notes to see who is this girl? Like, who is this? And I was so blown away by her expressions, the way she writes, her flair for writing, the way she articulates herself. Without taking much of your time, I don't think I can do any justice to the way she will introduce herself to you. We have Amber in the house. Oh, hi, Amber. Thank you so much for hopping on. We love you too.
Love you too, Amber.
So, hi, Preeti. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And I'd love you to take the floor and share a little bit of your story with us. Who are you? Who is this beautiful soul? I don't feel nervous about introducing anybody, but you are such a sweet soul. The greatness of your being makes me nervous. Take
Oh,
over, Preeti.
I'm Oh my goodness, Shireen. Thank you for that. Such a loving and warm welcome. I love you and I adore you. And I'm so grateful for the journey that both of us have been on. I'm so grateful for meeting you and all the things that we have been able to share together. Thank you so much. So where shall I begin? My I'm a mother of five children. But before I became a mother of five children, my journey started off in India when my first interaction with childhood trauma or abuse happened when I was 3 years old by a servant man who was, attempting to violate me. And my father was my hero because he's the one who saved me from that servant man actually doing any damage to me. So about 2 years later, 2.5 years later, my family immigrated to Canada. And on the plane ride, I was listening to my parents and looking at the sadness on my mother's face and not understanding why she was so sad. And I had heard that my mother, you see, she was born Christian, and my father, he was born Muslim, and they had fallen in love and they eloped. And back in the day, that is nothing that would ever have happened. Like, people lose their life for doing things like that. And apparently both sides of the family did not give their blessing to the marriage. So they were threatening to kill the whole family. So that was the reason we were basically escaping for our lives when we came to Canada. So my parents brought all five of us to Canada in the middle of winter. And I think my father caught typhoid. And when he got typhoid, a few months after coming to Canada, he just wasn't the same again. He was not the same father that I knew. And when I was about almost 6 years old is when I had my first bout of real, trauma, real trauma, that because what had happened, it caused me to have an out of body experience. And, for a 5.5-year-old child to actually have that out of body experience and not whatever was happening to me, Shireen, I kid you not, as a child, I knew that it was wrong. It was against my own, as young as I was, my own moral fiber. I knew that what was happening was not right. And in that instance, I had that out of body experience. And I think I was in shock. I was in absolute shock. And I was threatened. My life was threatened. And the conditioning began. Like, if you tell anyone, I'm going to cut you up, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. So I was so meek. My spirit was killed. I feel like my spirit was annihilated in that moment.
So, just a quick question. So so it was a family member
Yes.
who was threatening you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
And it was a regular conditioning,
Right.
whenever he found the moment to isolate me from everybody else, whether it's keeping me home from school, whether it's pulling me out of my bed at night. So all on the pretense, like we were born and we were taught to serve. We were taught to be subservient. And in my childhood conditioning, in the religion itself, we were taught that honor your parents, you do as you're told. You're not allowed to think for yourself. You're not allowed to question what is being asked of you. You were blind obedience is what we were told, right?
Right.
So that went on for many years. And when I grew up and I was like 12 years old and learning about, sex education, when I learned where babies came from, I was in panic mode. It was a Friday afternoon and I was watching, man, woman fall in love, get pregnant, go into labor, have a baby. But where the part was where, the act of how the baby is made, all these thoughts came to me, all this grief came to me. I was riddled with, like, what's going to happen to me? because I knew that a family member was violating me on the regular, and I did not know if I was going to become a mother, you know? So
Okay.
I had to ask my teacher. And of course, they had, the school system, they sent me home. It was a Friday afternoon in June, sent me home, told me, don't worry, we're going to have children's aid and the police will come and everything will be fine. Everything will be fine. I went home like I struck the lottery with that letter. I was skipping home. I was thinking, oh my gosh, this is my ticket to freedom. I will finally
Right.
be allowed to go live with my aunties who only has girls, right? So I thought it was my ticket to freedom. And little did I know that when 2 weeks later, like my auntie was home when we went home. So I asked my auntie the same question that I asked the school teacher and the school counselor. And my auntie had me ask the same question to my mom. And of course, nobody believed me. I mean, I got a real royal slap in the face when I was asking my mom the same question. There's no belief. They don't want to believe that such a thing could happen in such a religious household.
Right.
It was just very astonishing. I think that at that time, 2 weeks later, the officials came to the house. They came and questioned my parents, and of course, I was sent to my room. Nobody questioned me. Nobody did any testing on me, and there's no. I feel that the whole system is broken because there's nobody talking from to the child and asking the child. At that time, I'm talking, right? Nobody was questioning me. Nobody was interviewing me. Nobody was finding out, even doing a health assessment on me. And so even the school system they didn't revisit that. They didn't do a follow-up and say, hey, are you okay? Like, what's going on? Is everything
So,
okay at home? Nobody was questioning. So I just was like slipped under the rug, and the abuse started again 3 months later. And this time he was being much more aggressive in the way he was violating me. And it was more to like, if you survive this violation, because I'm being choked during this, forbidden act, and if you survive this, you'll be lucky. So,
wow.
I was astonished that there was nothing done. So that's when I started having the suicidal thoughts. And I'm telling you, as a 12-year-old girl, who doesn't know anything about suicide, I will share this with you. I was eating fungus off the windowsill. I'm 12, right? I'm eating my dad's cigarette butts. He was smoking Rockmans. I'm eating his cigarette butts. I'm taking my mother's, prescription pills. I was doing anything to just sedate myself, numb myself out, just go unconscious. So whatever is happening, you don't have to feel it, you know?
Um, right.
Yeah. And then,
Right.
it was just nuts. I did not realize the first, like my father had grounded me. So I wasn't allowed to go out. I was only allowed to stay home. I did have a paper route and everything, but at 16, that stopped. And then I was stay home, stay home, stay home, school and home, school and home. No friends. We never were allowed to have friends over. We were never allowed to have make any phone calls. We weren't allowed to use the phone and things like that. But at 18, the first day I went back, I went to summer school for a shorthand course I was taking. And right after that shorthand course, I knew that my father was at the official office. He was sponsoring my sister's husband. And it was at that time where I was kidnapped right off school property. And I
Yeah.
did not know who had the hand in that, who I didn't know. I thought it was a kidnapping. I didn't know that it was actually an arranged kidnapping. And I was taken into by a refugee family of a different religion. And then I was forced to change my name. They changed my name. So, I mean, I was happy to lose the identity that I associated with who I was as a child. But then a new identity was given to me, a new name was given to me, and a new stream of abuse started
I
within
just have
it.
So when you say arranged kidnap, how did you find out it was arranged?
Oh my dear Shireen. Oh my gosh. I had left, I escaped my husband 5 years later. All kinds of atrocities happened against me inside that marriage because this man only wanted immigration. He did not want the children. He absolutely didn't want the children. And when I left, I was pregnant with my third child when I left. And
Right,
and of course, in the court system, he wants, access to his children. And
right,
that is when I found out there was one supervision act. He had supervised access, so he's very physically abusive towards me. And during the one supervision, the lady could not supervise. And he was putting his foot down that, no, I want to see my kids. I want to see my kids. I must see my kids. So I phoned my mom and I told my mother, I said, listen, I am tired. I am sick and tired of being afraid of men. I'm tired of being afraid. I'm going to stand up to this man and I'm going to allow him access to the children. And I lived on the 10th floor. Shireen, I was taking such a risk. I lived on the 10th floor, and I thought, I'm going to do this. I don't care. I have to show him that I have the, part of my expression, the balls to face him. So
right.
I let him in. And when I let him,
Well,
go ahead.
you were compelled to stand up for yourself. So
Uh,
when you spoke with your mother and you told her that you've had enough and you're fed up,
yes.
I'm pretty sure that before it reached that stage, your mother was already aware. You had communicated to her earlier for you to say, I've had enough. That
Yeah.
means your mother already knew what was happening. And so, what was her role? Was she able to support you in any way? And if she, yes or no?
Um, my mom was not able to support me
Right,
in terms of like there was only one time that she came for me, and that
right,
was when I had actually, when I had left my husband, I was pregnant with my
right,
third child, and
right.
I do have siblings, but nobody opened their mouth and said, here, I will look after your two children while you go give birth to your third child. So I actually had to call Children's Aid myself and say, I have no place to put my children. Could you please take my children so I could go to the hospital and give birth?
No, no, but okay, so, but then I'm talking about younger days when you lived with your father and your mother, and not, well, not when you had kids.
No.
And at that point of time, when you approached your mom and you told your mom
Oh, no.
that, so you didn't have the support. What do
No.
you think? I'm trying to, like, I will share something with you of my experience as a mother, like, of being a mother and not being able to stand up for my child. I'm going to share that with you, but there's a point that I'm trying to get at. So, the your mom couldn't support you at no, your mom didn't support you. Let's put it
No.
this way. And what that would like, what could be the reason why a mom is not able to stand up for her child? So, what, like, I think I have. An understanding of that, but I'd like to hear from you based on the dynamics of your family. What
Yeah.
do you think was the reason why your mom couldn't stand up for you and help you?
I'll tell you the reason she gave me, and she said to me that she had made a promise to
Right,
my father's mother, that
right,
she promised on her deathbed that she would never leave my father. Never. So basically, she really wasn't thinking at what cost did she keep that promise. I mean, there has to be a boundary of, okay, I will be with, your son. I will take care of him. I will nurture him. I will love him. I will support him. But once he goes beyond the boundary of violating our child, that
right,
should be enough, right? That should be enough. But my
right,
mom didn't have that courage or strength.
right,
She was,
right.
how am I going to support five children? You know. So
Exactly.
my mom was making a good earning, but it was really my father, who's also his contribution to the mortgage. you know what I mean, would have taken, her paycheck took care of the food and everything else, but my
Right.
dad's paycheck took care of the house and the mortgage. So I guess she's
Right.
thinking like, where am I going to go? What am I going to do with five
Right.
children? Right?
So, in my relationship, and I'll share this with you, and I can totally relate to that because in my relationship, I mean, I had a daughter from my first marriage, and
Mm-hmm.
then I remarried, and I had two kids from my second marriage, and I was pregnant with the third. That's when things didn't stop working out. Already, there was actually no relationship between my second husband and my daughter from my first marriage, and so because she was not his daughter, he was least interested. Not that he's very interested in his own kids, but
Right.
but there was no. He made no connection, no bonding. He spent no time with her, and but things got worse as she started growing and spreading her wings. When she got into high school and when she's wanting to have her own. Life, and establish her own relationships,
Yeah.
that's when he felt he needed to have all the authority that over her, because it's as if it's because she has to be obligated to him for living in his house and eating food that is from his money,
Mm-hmm.
and that is too much of a pressure on that child. However, things got really ugly, and there was a point in time when he said, "This is my house and I'm kicking your 16-year-old daughter out of the house." And I stood there. I died so many times that day. I begged him, and that is the weakest I've ever been, because abusing me is one thing, but abusing my daughter, no. And my state of mind as a pregnant woman, or even if I wasn't pregnant, as a mother, I was so afraid to speak up. My mind was so badly battered with all the verbal abuse and the emotional violence
Mm-hmm.
that I had no physical violence, but your mind stops thinking rationally.
Yes.
And I was so diminished that I had such a loss of power that I couldn't think what to do. I couldn't. I thought that if I stand up for this daughter, he is going to. He gave us the ultimatum. All of you go back. You know, go back. My house, my terms. Go
Mm-hmm.
back. And I cannot go back with so many kids to India.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't that kind of a support system back there. So
Right.
I have one child and I have three other kids, and I have to think about you know pick one and or pick
Oh,
three, and
oh,
that is a very terrible situation to be in, and I never forgave myself for that I didn't stand up for my daughter.
mhm.
Eventually my daughter had to stand up for herself.
Right.
She stood up for herself.
Yeah.
And anybody who knows my family knows my daughter is most the calmest girl. And
Mhm.
she had to stand up for herself that day. He didn't listen to us. He was just bullying his way through. She actually called the cops and said, my mother lives in this house. I came to this country to live with my mother. I
Right.
don't care. I don't care about, I don't know who this man is. I
Mhm.
have to live with my mother. I,
Absolutely.
I have nowhere to go, and I need to go back home to my mother. Wherever my mother is, I will live with her. And
Mhm.
so I can understand your desperation,
Mhm.
that when you're using words that you wouldn't normally use,
Mhm.
and you're saying, pardon me for using this word and that, but that's a state of sheer desperation. And it is
Absolutely.
sad that a child has to, come to that point
Mhm.
to grow up and be an adult, and talk
Mhm.
like that,
Oh yeah.
and be your own adult kind of a thing. And and I feel you. I know what it must have been like.
Mhm.
And or maybe I really don't know what it must have been like, because no matter how much we say that I know what it's been like, only you know what you went through.
Oh gosh, yes. Mhm.
Yes, so I can understand. So some of with having said that, I feel that the things that we need to really focus on is that nobody believed in you, number one. So that is why most probably the elders in your home, and from this, I know your story and you've shared it. I've heard you speak at on other events, and you've shared that before, that your own family members, the women in your house, the aunts and the moms, they all said she's imagining and
Oh my goodness.
she's not she's lying and not saying the truth. And so you were chastised for that, like you were punished for that, you were beaten for that. So these are things that will keep violence
Mm-hmm.
going.
Mm-hmm.
When your child tells you, or when any child tells you
Any,
that something.
yeah,
Yes.
the thing is innocent. Okay, children are innocent. They don't
Right,
make up such atrocities. They don't know things. They don't know about that aspect of life. They
right,
know things are being done to them, but they cannot put words to it. So when
right.
a
And
child comes to you with a question, is this, if this is happening to me, I want to tell you, I want to share this with you. People need to be so much more compassionate and really sit that child down and understand what it took for that child to speak up.
right,
What did it take? How many years has this been happening to this child? What, along with that conditioning of, if you tell, you're going to be killed. If you tell, I'm going to do this to you. If you tell,
right,
you know what I mean? So I think a child gets to the point of they've had enough. They've
right,
had enough, and they want to break the silence.
right,
Want to break the silence and be heard. So
right,
when I spoke up at 12 years old and
right.
was not being heard, and this continued and it progressed and progressed until the point of my kidnapping, I'll tell you, can I return to that story about how
Right, absolutely.
that I was, I just said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to take the access and I will supervise. I have no problem. That man, that husband of mine came through the door and I said, your children are in the bedroom. He went directly, I went to sit down on the couch. He came in and laid down like he owned me and put his head on my lap and started
Right.
pulling at his mustache and saying, I got away with it. And I'm looking at his face and said, got away with what? He said, I blackmailed your father. I was beside myself. And I'm like, in that moment, my brain is thinking, what do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? And then I'm thinking back all the memories, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh. So my father arranged this. He said, yep. He said, your father arranged this, and I got my immigration and he got his freedom.
And did he pay your dad for that?
No, no. Freedom. He got his freedom.
Oh, he got his. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
he got his freedom. So he was not going to be sent, be
Okay.
reported, right? So
Okay. So
I
you.
I was in shock. I was like, what? I really thought I was kidnapped from school property by him and his, like, all his refugee friends. I didn't realize that this was orchestrated by my
So,
own. Yeah.
so all along in your life, from your dad to the man who you were, who kidnapped you, as uh, you've not had great experiences with men.
No.
Is uh, they've always been, um, you know, violent with you in some way or the other.
Oh
Uh,
yes.
at
A
any
lot of
point of
abuse
time
of
in your.
power.
Sorry.
A lot of abuse of power. So when I
Right.
was taken by the refugee, um, I was a sole earner. He was a refugee. He didn't even have a work permit for Canada. I was
Right.
doing the earnings. I was doing the cooking. I was doing the cleaning. I was taking care of every aspect. And I had to hand my paycheck over. I didn't have 1 cent of my paycheck.
Right. Yes, I hear you. So, my question to you is that, were you, um, do you feel like you had to, do you blame yourself for being, like that everything that happened in your life is because you're a woman? My point is that, like, do you not feel good about or did you, let's put it this way, did you ever question, did you ever feel horrible that you're a woman and believe that all you had to go through all this just because you're a woman? If you were a man, this wouldn't have happened to you.
I when I was 12, became very much a tomboy. I hated being a woman when I turned 12 and nobody believed me. That's when I just took on being a boy and I played with only the boys. And the sad part is that, like, I did not like being a woman back then. I just
Right.
wanted to be a boy. So I would play hockey with the boys. I played, play catch, play baseball, play hide and seek. But when I played hockey with the boys, I didn't realize, like, I allowed things to happen to me. Like, I got violated by the boys I was playing with. I had people throw me on the back of their bike, take me down to the beach and violate me. And here, as a child, there's a child inside of me screaming and telling this person, oh, my so-and-so does this to me too. My so-and-so does this to me too. Like, for me, I'm like asking for help. I'm trying to, that's in my childlike way, asking for help. But, men, right? They're in their own dream world, in their own, so they weren't thinking that I'm reaching for help, I'm asking for help. They were just violating me because, they felt like violating me. And I always had that paralysis that took over, that, like, my body kind of went numb. I was like frozen. And so anyone could do whatever they
So
wanted.
that, yes,
I
exactly.
was
So
frozen.
you
I
numbed
couldn't.
yourself. Yes, you numbed yourself,
I
and
did.
you tried to be this, cool dude, like do whatever.
Yeah.
I'm strong, and like I can take it on, bring it on, all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. So
Yeah. But
the woman in you died in a way, or like went into, I wouldn't say died, but it went into the woman in you went into a kind of a
coma.
coma, right?
Right.
Right, I
Oh
hear
my
you,
gosh. Yeah.
because the pain was too excruciating, all that the men had to do to you. And
Oh my
so,
goodness.
Preeti, I have a question, another question for you. Uh, do you think that women? I want to make sure I frame this properly. Do you think that women are enablers? You've never been abused by a woman,
No. But
right?
I've never been abused by a woman. But I mean, I
I'm not just talking about physical violation, but I'm talking about, verbally. So what I'm saying is there
well,
were people around you, and you were being violated by your husband, you were being abused by your husband, violated by your dad. There were other women around you, but no one really stood up for you.
but that in of itself is abuse. Okay, that in of itself. And I will say, my own sister, for some reason, I don't know what it is, but for some reason, my own sister had issues with not wanting to play with me, not wanting to, there was always this some sort of, like, I don't like it, but I really believe my parents created the competition between
Right,
siblings. And I think I'm against that. I don't create that with my children. Even though my children were born from two different fathers, I have never, ever told my children that this is your step brother or stepsister. I said, no, this is your brother, this is your sister.
right,
End of story. There is no
right,
step this, step that. I don't even believe in that. I'm sorry.
right,
I don't care. That it's hogwash. To me, you love from the heart. So your heart, we all have red blood. We don't have different colored blood. We all
right,
need the same. So
right,
I am your mother, and these are your siblings. And they grew
right,
no, and every single time these kids would ask me, but mommy, you love me more, right? You love me. I said, I love every single one of you in a unique way, each of you in a different way, because you all bring unique factors to my life.
right.
Different skills
Yes.
instead of, giftings, right? So I
Right.
don't ever make anyone feel bigger than or better than the other. Never.
Right.
That's not.
So my next question to you is that uh, you went through all the suffering and all the abuse and violence, and you stayed in that. How long did you have? Like, how many years have you been in? In in like encountering violence from different people in your family?
From the time, I was 6 with my family, at 18, I was,
Do
kidnapped,
you think?
trafficked.
Yes. So do you
I was
think that?
trafficked is what I was, right?
Yes. So do you think that because it began in your home, that it kind of replicated every in later on in your life in your husband's homes, because you already were kind of conditioned to live the life of a victim,
Yes,
right? And you didn't know how to stand up for yourself, even though you were trying,
right.
but you didn't know where to go for help and what to do about it. And
Mhm.
so, what was your wake up point? I know that there was an accident that took place.
Right.
Uh,
No, that was not my wake up point, Shreen. The wake up
right,
point when I left my husband was that I was the sole support earner of that family. I worked at a very good job, for Ultramar Oil Company, and
right.
my husband was coming right to the door of the business of on Consumers Road at the IBM building. He's coming, and he is like he's having these anger tantrums right with me in front of all these coworkers. So somebody went and told my boss that, look, at she needs help. There's something going on with her. So my boss brought me into his office, and I told him everything, and how this man had married me for immigration, and how all these violations were happening at home, and how I had to give up my paycheck. And I was at my tipping point. So my
So,
my boss.
hold on. So, there was some kind of an intervention where somebody spoke about you to your boss,
Mhm.
and that's when you needed that little bit of a nudge. You
Yeah,
needed a little someone to, like, nudge you or prompt you and say, hey, tell me what's going on. And
yeah.
that's when you just opened up.
I am so grateful for the boss that I had, because he sent me to counseling during work hours. He sent
Right.
me to counseling, and that counselor, she gave me a game plan, which became my escape plan. So I started getting in our language, we say himmat, the strength, the courage, right? So
Mm.
I put my foot down and I said to him, I am no longer handing you my whole paycheck. I need, look at what I asked for. I said, I need $50 every, $50 every 2 weeks so I can eat lunch at work, because I don't want to look like I'm the only one in my department who doesn't have the money to go eat in the restaurant downstairs. So
Okay.
once a week I could go eat downstairs on the Friday at the restaurant. But what I started doing is I started lying to him. I told him, my boss put me on salary and I have to work till 10 o'clock. So I was getting time and a half, time and a half, time and a half, time and a half. So I got in control of the paycheck. So I would hand him 500, and the rest I opened a new bank account and started putting my money away.
Okay, so very important. Those were little things that you started doing. That
Yes,
was the beginning of your journey to break free. So
absolutely.
you opened a secret account and started moving money there,
Yes,
and you spoke to someone with some kind of authority or power
mhm.
to be able to help and support you get out of this situation.
Yes.
Nice,
I had
nice.
a game plan. It was so amazing. The thing is, I should have, like, I didn't know. I was only, I think, 20 years old. I was 20. I was very young. And I did not know. I think at the time, no, sorry, I was like around 22, and I did not know that anything about maternity leave. So this started happening in January, where I was saving the money, and by July, I started having tremendous back pain, and I didn't know. By June, I think, tremendous back pain. I didn't know what it was. I couldn't even get out of bed, and I
Right,
quit my job. I should never have quit my job, but I couldn't get out of bed, so I didn't couldn't get to the doctor to find out I was pregnant.
right.
I mean, that would have been a big bonus, that, because I would have had mat leave when I was escaping. But I didn't know what I didn't know, and that's okay. We were being evicted from this home because we went from a one bedroom into a $1,000 top floor of a house, because his mom wasn't satisfied when she came for a visitation, because our home was so small. She goes, you better be in a house when I come back, right? So he immediately moved in, transitioned to a house, but he didn't understand I'm the one paying for everything, right? So I said to him, I'm going to give you this much money, but you need to get a job. You need to get a work permit, and you need to start working, because I can't do all this by myself. So yeah, it just so happened he wasn't paying the rent, and we were being evicted from the home where it was just too much rent. So what happened was I quietly, Shireen, as he's watching his Indian movies, I quietly packed all my clothes and my children's clothing. And the first day that he went back to his insurance job, because he had gone to India, he went to India for his sister's marriage, and he wanted to take my daughter. The first time he took my son and left him there for over a year. I was so, broken because they took my son away from me for over a year and 3 months. But nevertheless, this time he asked to take my daughter, and I said, over my dead body. I said, you're
So
not
you
taking my daughter away. I saw what you did when you took my son away. They were just making sure that I was not going to escape while he was still a refugee, because he wanted that immigration, right? So,
right.
yes. So what happened was, we were being evicted. I packed up my clothing. He came. He had left a bodyguard with me. So when he went to India, I couldn't move left or right without that bodyguard. His cousin was constantly everywhere I went. He was there.
So
So
control. It was the
total
total
control.
control and ownership of you.
Yes.
You had no say in your life.
None whatsoever. So he had come back, and about a month later, he went to a month, 2 months, because he was still looking for work, right? So he went back. He got a job with this insurance agent. The first day on his job, when he actually went, I took that opportunity to leave. There was other people in the family that saw me being abused in front of everyone. This young 16-year-old boy gave me his business card, and he said to me, if you ever want to leave your husband, call me, I will help you. I
Right.
pulled out that card, called him. I said, listen, can you come right now? He said, and he was like 10 minutes away. He came with the station wagon. We threw the clothing in there. I went to my daycare center where the kids were. I told the daycare staff, it was their nap time. I said, I am leaving my husband. Can I please have my children? They said, oh, yes, yes, yes. Because they all saw him abusing me. He didn't care if he was in public. He didn't care. So they said, yes, yes, yes. They were happy. They woke the kids up. I put the kids in the car, made them stay low in the car, because all of the family lived near the apartment buildings where the daycare was, and I didn't want anyone to see me. So I quickly we went to the shelter. No, sorry, we went to the storage, put all our clothes in storage, took the bare minimum, and we went down to Spadina, 148 Spadina Avenue, and went into the shelter system.
So did your husband charge you for kidnapping the kids?
No, he did not. But what I was so naive and gullible, I didn't realize that I put the game plan on a piece of paper, and I put the paper in the garbage at home. So he went through the garbage and found out where I was going. So he came to
Wow.
the shelter, and there he caused a little bit of a ruckus and demanding to talk to me and
Right.
the kids. But they threatened him with, they'll call the police, and if he didn't leave, and he did end up leaving. And I said, they told him, you deal with your lawyers, because that's the only way you're going to have access
So
to.
yeah, so at that point, like you, there are many women today,
Mm,
especially during COVID times when they are, at home.
mhm,
They're compelled to be at home, and and to deal with partners who are abusive. And that there's been a rise. We all know there's been a surge in the number of cases in domestic violence,
mhm,
and what I'm saying is there are women like you, like who you were being then,
mhm.
where you want help, that you don't want to live this life, but
Right.
you really don't know how to, what actions to take, what steps to take, and so you're doing what you can do best
Mhm,
based on what you understand. And so you thought, okay, let's pack the kids and escape. And
mhm,
so I just have a question.
mhm.
Why? I mean, you grew up in a home where you saw that your mom didn't say a word to your dad for no, for any of the atrocities. And if he was, I'm pretty sure that if he must have been a very, everyone was scared of him. But what made you think differently? Why
Okay.
did you do this?
Okay. Can I say something? First of
Right.
all, when I did approach my mother at 12, she did question him, but he said I was lying. He said I'm a drama queen. He said she's just made, she has psychological issues. She made things up. She was a preemie baby, something must have gone wrong with her brain cells or something, right?
Mm.
So yeah, my mom did question him, but at the same time, she didn't really look at the truth around her. She took the word from him. His word was gold to her, right? So she did question him.
Okay, she questioned it, but so she didn't have the courage to take action or do something different or break away from the situation with her kids. But
Mhm.
you did.
Yes.
And I mean, you were brave, and you broke this the
Yes. Mhm.
you broke this pattern in your family
Yes.
of inflicting abuse on women or putting up with abuse, I would say.
Mhm.
Putting up with abuse,
Mhm.
you broke that pattern in your family.
Yes.
What inspired you to do that? Why did you do that?
Because I came, like when I was going through all these things, Shireen, and what I didn't talk about is my faith was unshakable. Like when these atrocities happened to me as a child, remember it started at 6. So when I would immediately, I was so religious, I talked to God all the time. So I was having these spiritual encounters with God, and I was seeing God's presence so many times, time and time and time again. So I said to myself, I said that, you know what? Not at that time, but when I was in the marriage, when I was going through all these things, and the cousin that said to me that we're all going to buy a house together, and I'm going to have you whenever I want. And I said to myself, I'm going to be dead before that happens. You know what I mean? I will
Right.
not let that happen. And if I took my own life, Shireen, then I'm setting my children up for that to happen to them. I said, I'm going to be a stand for my kids. I'm going to be a stand for myself and every other woman out there who is going through something. I really don't want anyone to repeat my behavior. I don't want people to be stuck where I was stuck. And we are
So
sovereign beings, Shereen. I just learned that. I learned that, when I did Landmark, I learned that about who I am, and I have the authority over my own body. I have the authority over my mind, over my heart, over my spirituality. I don't want to give my power away any longer. I took back my power and I said, no more. I will do something with my life. And I told my mother-in-law before she left, I told my mother-in-law that if I had said to her, if you don't straighten up your son, because he had so many deficiencies in terms of
right.
like he had alcohol, gambling, and not working and all that stuff. And I said, if you don't straighten him out, I'm going to leave. And she said to me, an Indian woman telling me, where will you go? You will become a prostitute. And I said, I'm Canadian citizen. I don't need to become a prostitute to survive and make a good life for myself and my
Right.
children. I said, watch me. And I did. I just 1 full year later, I was gone. Before the year had finished, I was gone. I had left with my kids. They called me from India begging me to come back. I said no. I said, no, he will make you his queen. I said no. I said no. He had his chance. I gave my heart, I gave him the chance, but
Right.
no. I said no, that's not happening. They didn't believe me.
Right.
Where are you? Oh, Shireen, we lost you. They
Hello. Hello. I'm back.
lost you for some.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Yes, yes, because somebody called and I
Oh,
have you on the phone. And okay, so that's a very important thing. So for those women who are suffering and who feel disempowered and who are continuing to live in a resigned manner, and putting up with abuse and have children, it is very important for them to realize that they need to take a stand and work on eliminating violence in their lives. They need to take charge of it. Nobody, I mean, everybody else steps in, but the first step and the first action has to come from them. They have to be willing to not want to live this life anymore. And the one of the biggest reasons for me was leaving a legacy for my children so that they don't remember me as someone who was an enabler, and a victim. And so, knowing your family very well, you ended that legacy of abuse in your family. That narrative is over. That chapter is closed. Your
Yeah.
children are free because you chose to be free,
Hmm.
and that is so powerful. And I know that because you took that action, your
Hmm.
children have grown up healthy, and of sound mind, healthy, productive, and contributing to the community. And you shared with me the other day how your own daughter,
Hmm.
that daughter that you clung to and said that I'm not going to, was it her who you talked about, where your husband wanted to take her to India? Or was it?
Was her. And
Mm,
I said, "There's no way over my dead body." And I had never uttered those words. I had never uttered those words.
right,
When I said that, I realized something. He was not landed. He was not a landed immigrant. He was still a refugee. So
right.
I held the power. I didn't even know I held the power.
Yeah, and you didn't hold the power just because he was a refugee. You held the power because you found strength. It doesn't matter what his status was, but
Right.
you found the power to establish your own status in your own life,
Yeah.
right?
Whether
And
yeah.
and it is beautiful to hear. I mean, I remember you sharing with me the other day how your daughter is your teacher, and she is working with you, and you're doing some healing courses with taking some healing courses with her.
Mhm.
And Preeti, in the last few years, tell me about your effort. You have constantly, ever since you broke free from that narrative of abuse in your life, you have constantly been striving to work on self mastery, on your own, building your own self expression, and your own leadership. And I can only imagine how hard that is for someone who is a victim of abuse, because uh, we don't know how to be that way.
You know what it is, Train, is that
Right,
we never taught. When I look back at my mother, I
right.
I really realized that she was not a living example of self-love. So
There
if
you go.
she loved herself, she would
Right,
not have put up with a lot of the things that she was putting up with. And I
right,
come to the journey of learning that it's not selfish to take a bubble bath. It's not selfish to honor myself above someone else. You know what I mean? If somebody wants my time and it's I'm depleted and I need to take care of me, it's not selfish of me wanting to take care of me. It's not
right, right.
my
So,
own cup first. How can I serve people if I
right,
if I want to be that if I want to be that stand for other people, I really need
right,
to serve myself first.
right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Um, but I agree, and I know that there's a lot going on where you're working on yourself, and um, you're creating your life in a powerful way. And then uh, last year in November, there was a setback, and everything was on hold.
Remember,
Tell me something about what happened. There was a fire in your house,
remember we went to that event where I gave my talk?
right?
Within 12 hours of my giving my talk, a fire erupted in our home when we were not home. And
Right,
and it was just horrendous because there were so
right,
many things that had been done wrong and we found ourselves homeless. And
right,
I ended up having to take my two teenage children and leave my daughter with her older daughter, Zarina, and I left my son with his brothers downtown. And then
right,
because out of respect for my out of respect for the people that mean so much to me, I did not want to burden anybody with my presence. So I would stay 2 days here, 2 days there, 2 days here, 2 days there. I did not want to stay anywhere and be a burden to anyone. And sometimes I slept in my car. And though it was winter time, I was sleeping in the underground garage. And it was just not, it was the most scariest thing I've ever done. And then one of my friends, said to me when COVID came in, and, the Y was closed. I couldn't shower there anymore. I couldn't work out. And COVID came in. I went to the officials, asking for help, please, to get us back into our home. And my friend out in Hamilton said, come and stay with me. It doesn't make any sense that you're going to allow yourself to get sick on top of that with COVID, right? So I
Right.
was able to stay with him. And by the grace of God, I'm telling you, by the grace of God, we got back into our place in the end of May. But I'll tell you,
Right.
I came to know, Shireen, what my strengths really were. Because
Right.
when you hit the wall, when you hit the wall, when there's no help left, right, or center, like you're thinking that you are completely on the street just like any other person who's homeless. What are you going to do? How are you going to get up from here? How are you going to make your, be a stand for your children from this position? And I really found out, like, okay, I have courage. I have, I could see that. I said, okay. And there were times there of, that feeling of like hopelessness. Well, I allowed myself to feel the feelings. I would have direct communication with God, and I would cry and ask for forgiveness from every soul on the planet, whoever I did any harm to, or did any, said any unjust word to, or anything that I may have done to cause this, right? So I was constantly asking for forgiveness. And, I really believe that when you look for the silver lining in the darkness that you're in, you will find it. Because if you're looking for the good will find you. You got to
Right.
take a hold of yourself and say, you know what? It's okay. I see everything around me that is not what I'm wanting, but let it be a contrast to what you want. You know what you want to create, right? And
Right.
from there, you can write a game plan. So, okay, what do I want? What do I need? What is it that I absolutely cannot live without? And what is it that I can create for the future that can be put on a future list? You know what I mean? For now,
Right.
let's get yourself stable. So
Right.
the most important thing was for me to stabilize my energy. You know,
Right. Right.
that's how I ended up doing this course with my daughter, and she taught me how to use meditation and the Tao practices from Master Sha's Tao healing practices to get myself into a position where I am working from within. I'm working,
Right.
my life out here happens because of the life in here
So
that I,
how
yeah.
beautiful is that, that you have a daughter who is your holding your hand, and walking with you in your journey towards self healing and self empowerment.
I'm
And so, what's next for you?
What's next for me is I am working on the certification for my happiness coaching. Shireen, I'm already certified as a speaker, so I want to be develop myself as a paid speaker. And I also the thing about me is even if I'm a paid speaker, I want to be having like do my digital marketing things because I do believe in making money while you sleep. And so when
Right.
I'm out there and I'm actually giving my talks and I'm actually being a stand for other people, it cannot come from a space of the reference in my mind is like, I'm singing for my supper, and I don't want to sing for my supper because that I know how nervous I am. I get that way and I don't want to be that way. So I want to do the digital marketing on the side. And I also want to, morning, Robert. Thank you, thank you, thank you for everything you did to help me have those breakthroughs. I really love and appreciate you. And I was thinking of you so hard in my meditation today, so we have to connect. Um,
He's still pointing towards God in his picture. Yeah.
wow.
Mm,
So,
yeah.
anyways, so I'm working on the happiness coaching certification. I want to do the digital marketing, and I'm doing my speaking. And those three in combination is, how
Right.
I want to appear. 2021 is going to be a blast. So I'm
Awesome. Awesome. Love your energy. I
yeah.
just have so looking at your story, and listening to your story, I've made a note of all the lessons that we learned from your story. Is it's one major role that parents have to play towards eliminating violence against women is teaching their daughters, teaching their children that they're in charge of, or any adult for that matter, teaching any child uh, to love themselves, self love. The
Self
you know, and it's not enough to just say that you should love yourself. You should love yourself.
love.
You know, show them, lead them by
Yes,
loving yourself.
absolutely.
Demonstrate what that means. Live by example.
Absolutely.
So self love is what's very important. Never not believe a child.
Absolutely.
You want to eliminate violence, nip it in the bud. When a child is telling you something is not right, pay attention to that. No, but so believe in a child. Do not make a child feel ashamed if
Absolutely.
something goes wrong. So very crucial to eliminating violence, like how some of these uh, you know uh, some of these monks and wise men have said, you want the world to have peace, teach children meditation and peace, teach them when they're kids.
Absolutely.
So just like that, you have to teach self-love, empowerment. This is all a way of life, how you live your life. It's not something out of the way, and it is something that should be a natural part of your being. So and then to teach how to protect yourself and stand up for yourself and voice yourself. So so believe in your child. Don't make the child feel ashamed if the child is coming and telling you something didn't work, something didn't sound right.
Right.
Don't make the child wrong. So it's not
Absolutely.
just feeling ashamed. You don't just make the child feel ashamed, but don't even say, oh, you're imagining it, you're wrong, and absolutely ignore and dismiss
Exactly.
what they are saying. And so as adults, we have this huge role to play. If we want to eliminate violence in women against women by 2030, we have to train our children to stand up for themselves and be a strong support for them. And the other lesson that I have, and why do this, and do we do this so that the future generation is free of what we have to deal with. And what I really love about you is your son. Some of the things that I picked from your story is that you practice gratitude. You continuously, you're in touch with your spirit. You are a believer. You are a woman of faith. So there is a kind of surrender when you forgive. You've surrendered your past. You've, in a positive way. That when I say surrender, it does not mean that you give up and it's like, okay, this happened in my life, so let me lie down on the couch and live the rest of my life. No, you're taking action.
Yeah.
Yes, you're taking action, and you are doing things that would bring a more positive and empowering vibe in your family.
Yeah.
Hi, Lori.
Hi, Lori. We love you.
Uh, and we love you. We do love Lori very much. And then you've been unstoppable. I mean, first you've been through so much in your own parents' home. Then you go out of that, you go into, it's like out of the fan into the fire, out of the fan into the fire, pan fire, pan fire. What have you been doing? And look at that radiant smile
You
at
know,
the end of it all.
Shireen, I told myself a long time ago, and I think it was 1992. I had been volunteering for the PC Service Bureau because I wanted a government job, and I was told at the end of it all, when they won, I did everything to do, serve them, and they said, "Oh, we think you're an NDP spy." And I said, "Oh my God, I'm a single mom of 3 kids at that time, and I only wanted a government job." So on my way home from that moment on, I said to myself, "Preeti, you were meant for greater things." And that's been my mantra. Anytime something happens that tries to take me out, I said, "Preeti, you are meant for greater things," and
Right.
this is what I've
So,
come to, realize that I meant to share my story to help heal other people. May I
right.
say something? There's 2 things I want to make sure we get in here before I forget, and that is for women who are experiencing domestic violence right now, it's very, very important, Shireen, that they need to have a support system. They need to go and find a family member, a friend, somebody who can keep an eye, who could they can send a signal to, that can help them do, create a plan to escape. You need to,
Right.
really take into consideration that when your children are looking at you being abused, you are creating those patterns and paradigms in their mind, that they're watching the abuse and they're going to repeat that same cycle. If you don't
Right.
want to repeat your cycle, you need to make sure that you get the proper support. The school systems also have to start paying attention when children come to school and they're being neglected, to pay attention and find out what is really going on and
I
be
think the school is a lot more vigilant now than I don't know what it was like when you were in
for me,
school,
it was
but no, the schools are pretty good now.
okay, but I just want to make sure
Right, absolutely.
women
That's your
have to create,
experience.
yeah, they got to
That
create that, yeah, that
that is
plan.
that is your experience. That is definitely your experience. No, I think what you mean is, sometimes to have a more like discern, like have a sharper eye for,
Yeah,
to
because
observe.
in our culture, in our Indian culture, people don't get divorced. There's some religions that do not believe in divorce. So
Right,
that is also the fear of what a woman is going through, and the fact that they think there's no way out. They
right,
think there's no way out, but there has to be a way out, because
absolutely.
you have to understand that your life is precious. You are precious. You have value. You are
Right.
lovable. You are kind. You have what it takes to create a life for yourself and your children. Give your children that lifeline, but give it to yourself first.
Nice, very nice, very well said. That you have to give that lifeline to yourself first,
Mhm.
because all of those children, their lives depend on you.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
That's coming from a place of responsibility.
Mhm.
Very true, very true. And well, God bless you for all that you have endured, and still you smile and you still have so much to offer and give the world. Your heart was not tainted with bitterness.
Can I say one more thing, please?
Please.
So it is my daughter's birthday tomorrow. And, I really want to honor this journey that she has taken me on. I want to say something about her, that, Serena Chopra, she's a leading soul healer and transformational coach. And she is
Nice.
the founder of Quantum Queen Rising, where women rise to new heights on their spiritual journey, connecting to true power, true confidence, and self expression through Tao spiritual practices and proven techniques. So, if anyone wants to, go on that journey of healing, please get in touch with her. She is on Facebook, and she would be honored to serve.
Wonderful. So, do you think all this could have been created if you didn't take that one step? Look at the pride that you have, and how you feel like you committed your life. It took a lot of time to overcome what all you've dealt with, but now you're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, because your family is now lifted off of that environment of abuse, and there's
Yeah.
healing, there's love, there's healing, there's compassion, and you're all together in this, and each one is supporting the other.
Mhm.
And it's so, there is always an end, there is hope. Things will never be like this forever. That's what we have to tell those who are in locked
Yeah.
homes and dealing with what they're dealing with. uh,
Yeah.
you know uh, you have to figure out your own strengths,
Mhm.
and make it your time to make your choices and decisions. And I know what it was like for me when I had these small children and I didn't have any money of my own.
Yes.
Even though I worked all my life, but my ex-husband had control over all the money. And
Yes.
that's how we Indian women were raised. The men kept the money. Even if we earned it, the men were in charge. They knew better how
Mhm.
about money matters. And
Exactly.
so I always feared that I cannot give my kids a better life if I step out of here, and they'll starve or we'll end up in a shelter. And I had the fear that there'll be all kinds of people in the shelter, and there'll be drugs, and there'll be fights, and God knows what all. Like, I had a very scary picture. Like, you name it.
Mhm.
I told myself everything that wouldn't work if I left.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And that's what we need to challenge.
Oh,
I
yeah.
thought, and my ex used to tell me, I have a very stubborn, um, I have a very stubborn narrative that runs my life. My narrative is, don't tell me what to do.
Right. Mhm.
Yes, don't tell me what to do. And I'll take it when you tell me nicely.
Right.
But if you tell me with an attitude of I know better,
Right. Oh, yes. I get it. Mhm.
I'm gonna do it.
Right. Exactly.
So, well, that's a weakness. Don't do this to me, all you people, whoever's listening. but but yeah, no, I'm not. I know I'm not playing that game anymore. I know, I'm aware of that game. But the thing is that because he kept telling me, you'll be on the streets and begging. If I wasn't there,
Mhm.
you'd be on the streets and begging. And that was what I took on. Challenge accepted.
Mm. Wow.
Challenge accepted. if
Mhm.
i if i didn't try it, how would
Mhm.
I know if I can do it or I can't?
Mhm.
What could be worse than what I'm already dealing with anyways?
Absolutely. Exactly. Mhm.
So I just took a leap of faith.
Yes.
I just took a leap of faith and quit the marriage. And I fig and that's it. And that's where when you talk about faith, that steps in, God steps in,
Mhm.
because you're just taking charge. And there's respect for that
Absolutely.
everywhere. There's a lot of respect for that, and things show up, and the universe loves it when you are a bold spirit and you take action, and then things start working.
Mhm.
So I'm so happy for you. And I know there's a lot, Simra. I know you have PA Day. That's my daughter. And she is watching everything that she's
Oh,
not supposed to
my
watch. I don't know how you got on
goodness.
the.
Love you. Oh my God. I can't believe she's watching.
And she said, wow. Yes. So,
My love.
okay. So, okay. So thank you, Simra. That's a shout out to you. And don't trouble me now. I'm doing the ending. Okay.
I love her boldness. I love it.
Remember, she went to Speaker Slam and she listened to people speak too. She's like a mini speaker in my house. And then so I acknowledge you for all the work that you do for yourself. And the biggest gift that we as human beings can give is understanding the fact that we cannot change the world.
Right.
What we are in charge of is changing ourselves. And you have been diligently working on transformation, self transformation, taking you to the next level and the next level and the next level. And the people around you are the ones who enjoy the benefit, the results of it along with you. So it's, they say you educate a man, and that education does not always have to be like, math and language.
Right.
You educate, meaning all, holistic education. You
Yes.
educate a man, you educate a man, you educate a woman, you educate the whole family.
Exactly. It is
And
very
that's,
simple.
yes, and that's what you are doing as a contribution to eliminating violence against women, by saying no, by stepping into your power, and by showcasing that. I thank you for coming and spending your time with us. You know that I love you, I appreciate you, and I really, really adore you, Preeti.
I'm truly
Uh,
honored for your invitation to this meeting and for anyone else who I was able to impact in a
It's
positive way. Thank you so much. I love this
absolutely.
sharing. Thank you.
Absolutely. And I hope to have you back, when you've completed all your certifications and you are in the next level of your being.
Thank,
And we are going to talk again.
thank you.
Take care of yourself. And
Thank you so
thank you to
much.
all those who were listening.
Yes.
Thank you for supporting our initiative. Please share this video with anybody you think would need to listen and hear and learn from this. I love you all, and I'm going to come back tomorrow again with yet another powerful woman who's going to share her own story, her own experience, her own expertise. Until then, bye everyone. Stay warm and stay safe. Take
Thank
care.
you. Thank you. Goodbye.